Let's pause this. Let's turn back on my speakers. All right, so let's quickly do a little film class element here. So we've watched now 3 Satoshi Kon films. I think Satoshi Kon is, he's a genius. And I think this is the hardest of his movies to wrap your head around. Obviously, Perfect Blue is difficult. It's got a lot going on. But Paprika is a movie that I think it demands a rewatch. I don't think it's one where you'll get everything out of it the first time, the second time, the third time. I think it's one that you have to watch over and over and over and over again to really get everything out of it. But I think what you have to understand is just that this movie is meant to emulate the construction of a dream or the anatomy of a dream. So a lot of times the film itself is meant to bewilder you. So that feeling of confusion is intentional, because there are so many times that you have a dream, and when you try and recant the dream, it's not this linear story. It's more like ideas and pieces that are just kind of smashed together. And I think that's what's so cool about this film, and why it eventually was the inspiration for Inception, is that I don't know if there are many films who do kind of like the dream in a movie. Like, what does a dream really look like better than Paprika? It is dreams. It is the combination of dreams. It is the subconscious. It is waking dreams. It is the ego and the id, want and desire, dreams, ambitions. I think my favorite story in Paprika, because there are a few, is not the main story, and it's not the love story, and it's not, the villainous mastermind, but I really like the story of the cop, because I think his is just like the most pure analysis of a dream, right? Because not only is the majority of the film his dreams, but also you learn about his lifetime ambitions, his dreams to become a filmmaker, and how he so wanted to be a filmmaker that he rejects films in his adult life. They're too painful for him because he thinks that he gave up on his dream. Films represent to him a failing within his life so deeply that it's almost a nightmare, until the end, where he embraces his dreams and he is able to control them. And that's why he is able to flip something which at the beginning was a nightmare into something that was control, and become the protagonist of his own dreams. Not only that, he has a conversation with his subconscious manifested as one of his friends, who literally tells him, don't be sad about our dream. You lived it. You just lived it in a different way. You made a film about a police officer because that was fascinating to you, and you ended up becoming a police officer. So don't feel like you abandoned filmmaking. You're living the film. And to me, that is such a awesome storyline. And I think that's really what Paprika is about. I don't think Paprika is a movie like Inception, where you're meant to buy in fully to this action adventure story. I think it is an action adventure story that becomes the vehicle for a deep analysis of dreams and how we dream. And I think there are so many different dreams within this story. There is the lab assistant who hangs on to this juvenile side of himself and casts himself as a doll and manifests his dream in a theme park and digs so deeply into his dream that he surrenders his reality and ends up hurting himself. And maybe this has to do with the very, very slight mention to the fact that he's a homosexual. And perhaps because of that, he feels alienated, so much so that he would choose a dream over his reality. Also, I think there is the story of a woman who has a vision of herself that is Paprika, right? There is the waking version of herself, and then the subconscious version of herself, the main character of the film. And at the end, there is this question: is Paprika a part of the doctor, or is the doctor a part of Paprika? What really runs the show in your body? Is it your subconscious or is it your waking conscious? Who really has more control over your actions, over your awareness, over your soul? Is it the waking you, the one that makes decisions? How often in our lives have we made decisions or have the inability to make decisions, and we cannot understand why that is? And then those decisions come to us in dreams. I know there are so many times that I have made a decision that has caused regret in my life, and I have relived that decision or that moment in my dreams, or a moment of joy that comes back to me in my subconscious. I think the reason you see Paprika and the main character split is because of what the mastermind does, where he literally rips her out of her subconscious. And because he does that, maybe that is why she is finally able to admit that she's madly in love with a big fat, weirdo who is the genius of our generation. She's able to shed this barrier that is his weight and his eating, and just be okay with the fact that she loves this person regardless of his size. But in order to do that, she maybe had to shed the spicy version of herself, the subconscious, who literally says, oh, he's a big fat loser. She has to shed that part within herself. The soundtrack is amazing. I think this movie is very much worthy of a rewatch. Because the interesting thing about Satoshi Kon is I think a lot of times you go into his film expecting one thing, particularly because it is anime. I think so many of us are preconditioned to enjoy, watch, consume anime in a very specific format. We're all kind of shonen coded, and something like this that is so abstract kind of fries our brain, because we are looking to consume it in a certain way. We're looking for a linear plot. We're looking for a linear narrative. We're looking for characters that are good guys, bad guys, archetypes. And we don't really get those. In most Satoshi Kon films, we just get people. It's amazing what an inspiration this film is, truly, for Inception. You go back and you watch the side-by-side, and so much of Inception is kind of the superhero version, the simplified version of this. And I love Inception. I really do. I think Inception is great, but I think Inception chooses to go good guys, bad guys, and kind of create a narrative that's more comfortable with what we've seen before. Because ultimately, dreams are so abstract that they don't really have that narrative arc. And Paprika is meant to be abstract as well. And I think what Paprika will beg of you at the end is to analyze your own dreams, both your waking and your sleeping dreams. What do you dream about? What do the things in your dream represent? What is your subconscious trying to tell you if you're a frog or a crab or a robot or a doll or a Tinkerbell or a monster? And what are the dreams that you carry in your waking life? And what's scarier to you, your waking dreams or your sleeping dreams? Are you able to talk about being a frog while you sleep, but not able to talk about the fact that one day you dream to be a superstar or an actor or a hero? It's a fascinating film. So at the end of the day, make peace with your subconscious. And I think you'll be a much happier person for it. If you enjoyed this movie, we've watched 2 other really great Satoshi Kon films in this class. We've watched Tokyo Godfathers, which is really down the pipe. It's very much just a Christmas movie. It's an anime Christmas movie, very much worth your time. Perfect Blue, that is the one that everyone has really watched. So if you want to go see probably his best film, it's Perfect Blue. The other one that is shown on the billboard is this one, Millennium Actress, which is also very much worth your time. And then if you want to watch his most abstract project of all time, you got to watch Paranoia Agent. Paranoia Agent is his series that he did, and it is terrifying. Paranoia Agent is really, really scary, but not in a way that it's like jump scare, in your face scary. It's more like a long form analysis of like how pressure and your mind can create horrors that the real world never could. And it's amazing. There's an episode in it. I'm trying to find out which episode it is. It's about group suicide. And man, is it fucking good. So I recommend you go watch more Satoshi Kon because he's very, very good. If you are really craving some deep analysis outside of what I've just given you, I will recommend a video. This video is great. So Bread Sword, my favorite film essayist on the planet, and I think the guy who knows the most about film, did a 3-part series on Satoshi Kon. And it has, it's called Love Is All You Need, and it has Perfect Blue, Millennium Actress, and Tokyo Godfathers as a 3-part series. Each episode is like 30 minutes to an hour long. And I mean, truly like life-changing, profound, kick-ass film essays that are absolutely worth your time. If you've never watched Bread Sword's projects, he's a fan of the stream. He pops in from time to time, and he gets it. He absolutely gets it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed tonight's film night. So yeah. Are there any other movies like Vanilla Sky that capture the feeling of dreams that you can think of? Yeah, Being John Malkovich, Adaptation are two that come to mind right away that are like deep. Being John Malkovich is like a great one. Thank you for the 17 months. Eternal Sunshine is another one that comes to mind immediately. Kind of off topic, but the dream sequence in the first Exorcist movie was one of the best ways I've ever seen a nightmare interpreted in a film. Oh, there you go. Who were the bartenders? The bartenders, I think, actually were part of the cops' subconscious. But they were essentially part of the program that was to house Paprika and help people meet on the internet. Any thoughts on Mr. Nobody? Not really profound thoughts. I liked it. Do you like Velvet Buzzsaw? It was okay. It was pretty good. Jujutsu Kaisen? Yeah, it's great. Love me some Jujutsu Kaisen. They were in a video game? Yeah, essentially. They were on a web program. That conversation is another one in the film where basically they talk about that the anonymity and kind of freedom of expression of the internet is very similar to dreams, in that people, because they are anonymous and basically protected from the reality of the real world, they're able to express kind of their more inner desires and authentic desires, which, you know, is very true of Twitch. You see people behave and conduct themselves probably in a way that they wouldn't otherwise in the Twitch chat, because they don't face the threat of being judged as harshly as they would in reality, which is kind of the same premise as a dream, right? It is your subconscious being freed. It is your most true and inner self expressing itself without the constraints of reality or your fears or your id or your, you know, ability to suppress yourself and make yourself more palatable for society. And that's kind of the statement they make with the bar in the web browser. And streamers, yeah, I think streamers, it's interesting. It's a different phenomenon. I think streamers have to present someone that people will watch. I think numbers on a screen become a powerful endorphin loop in the same way that like a slot machine creates. And I think there is a positive feeling around a growing viewership and a negative feeling around a decreasing viewership. And so I think people will put their conscious aside in order to fuel their addiction to the endorphin rush they get when they are relevant. I think secretly everybody wants the planet to revolve around them. It makes you feel like you matter. The reality that you don't really matter is scary. I think it's a very hard one to accept for anyone. So I think streaming and fame create a very real avenue to avoid your own mortality. So yeah, that's my take on that. I think it's kind of comforting that nothing really matters. I do too, but I think we're in a minority, or else faith wouldn't exist, or a lot of other institutions. Who was the guy who ripped her out of the suit thing? It was two men. It was the one guy that they worked with and the chief. It's interesting. I had a conversation with an artist I really liked recently, and I think we live in a time where art is judged by viewership and not quality, which is it's a weird dilemma, I think, for me all the time. And it's one of those dilemmas where even when you realize the truth of it, you still can't avoid the hypocrisy of it. Can you explain why you haven't shown Home yet?
Oh, yeah,
I don't know what that
sure,
means.
cool.
Love movie night.
Did you mean to spell whole and just misspelt it and basically ended up saying something strange instead of something horny? Well, Neff, if nothing matters, what's the point? There's got to be a point, right? There's got to be a point. What's the point if nothing matters? I think you have to embrace that nothing matters so that you can perceive that nothing matters equally. I think all hierarchies end up being kind of noxious in a way. I think the point is that we are so unlikely in the soup of the universe. We are a mathematical certainty, but a thin one. And in a universe of cold space and distance, we have connection and we have awareness and we can perceive the universe around us. And I think that that is so important. And I think the point is that we can create things, we can experience things that are so beautiful and so profound, even in their kind of frivolous and ultimately unimportant way. But if everything's equally unimportant, then everything is equally important. So I like to make people laugh. That's what I like to do. And I think that is important to me. You have to find out what's important to you, and make your life as appealing as possible to yourself. I think that I am a real believer that all pain is kind of cyclical, and that so is being unkind. I think that most people, although we'd like to perceive that evil and hate exist in a vacuum, I don't know if they exactly do. I think they are created by negative feelings. I think sadness and pain are kind of like the force in that some people will utilize it to do awful and terrible things, and other people will see the reality of the universe and use their pain to become a deeper and more profound person. But it's always a choice. I don't know. Don't listen to me. I tell dad jokes and I suck dads off for a living. You know, I'm not the person to tell you anything. Literally the roommate that comes back from EDC and starts yapping. I mean, people are asking me the question. If there's no point, the point is what you make of it. While you're here, improving your life is in the lives of others around you is the only pursuit. Create heaven on earth. There you go. I like that. Surfing's the source. Change your life. Swear to God. Yep. Where's your corn sexual sign? It's right over here. I just have to hang it. I've kind of been a little busy. Can you explain to me why the dub version falls short of the translation? There's a lot of like Japanese isms in this film, and the pacing of a lot of their language is different. So to compact it in the same amount of time and get like the lip flaps right and stuff, they condense a lot of the language in this movie. And I've watched the dub before, and it's not exactly awesome. Can you explain why the dub? Oh yeah. That was your question. There you go. I was picking that up just from the sub. Yeah. Listen, I'm very anti-dub. I think there are a lot of dubs that are perfectly fine. But this is one of the few examples I will give of like, you should probably watch the sub first. Can you explain the chairman's storyline, please? Yeah, the chairman basically he's like the most, in my opinion, he's like the most simplistic element of the film. He's basically a person who kind of goes mad with power and wants to utilize the machine to invade and combine the dreams of others and become king of the dreams and take the mind of one of his associates so that he can be young and strong again. And he's essentially the most straightforward plot of all of them. Any other questions about this film or philosophy of this film or anything else like that? Can you explain why you were making Nesua climb alone? I am not. I was away for the weekend. I'm sorry. Inception soon. I mean, it would be fun to watch Inception after this film, certainly. Best friend Fred again track. You don't have to be so strong. Score out of 10. I mean, all Satoshi Kon films are probably in the 9 to 10 range, in my opinion. I really like Kon a lot, though. Missed you at EDC. Sorry, I tried to meet as many people as possible. I really walked around a lot and had a great time. And I did take a lot of photos looking pretty zooted. Can you give any tips to get over the emptiness after seeing a great movie like this? The emptiness. Well, I think the kind of feeling you're describing is like the feeling of nostalgia for something you've never seen before, or kind of like it is like this weird feeling of like someone being able to cut through your persona, your mask, and touch your inner consciousness. And I think great artists do that. I remember, certain projects, most recently, Flowers of Evil was a project that the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my God, like someone sees me. And I just consumed it so rabidly. And afterward, I like had this pain of like, it's over. But that's kind of one of the dilemmas of great projects. I think a lot of great projects become very mid projects because they don't end. There are a lot of projects that I have loved that have gone on too long with too many sequels.
Persona?
No. Too many sequels, and too many episodes and too many seasons. I'll watch this though. I just looked it up. And they get bad. Most projects I love end too soon, whether it's Spaced or, Flowers of Evil or Cowboy Bebop. The projects that really stick with you are here and they're gone. Because, I think there is a pain in something ending. I think ending kind of reminds us of mortality, death, aging, the end of season, right? The turning of the tides, change. We want everything in a way to remain the same forever. I think there is a voice inside all of us that just wants things to be stagnant so that we can get our mind around them and adjust to them and become comfortable. But the truth is, all things end, all seasons change, and even the things we love will become old one day. And the best thing you can do is rewatch them chasing that feeling that you had the first time you experienced them, but it'll never quite be the same. So go experience more things. Keep chasing. Because there's always another piece of art out there, which is one of the great things about humanity. Don't be The Simpsons. Weird for the sake of art is just weird. It's not what you would pay for. It's what you would pay for it to feel it all over again. Do you agree? Weird for the sake of weird. Wait, weird for the sake of art is just weird. It's not what you would pay for. It's what you would pay for to feel it over again. Do you agree? Fox on the Run, I'm having a little bit of a hard time following your logic, but weird for the sake of weird are projects that I don't really love. I know what you're talking about. A good example in my mind of weird for the sake of weird, and some people will get really upset about this, is this show. Lost to me is one of the greatest failings of storytelling ever, and some people will get really upset by that. But I think when you realize so much of that show is actually just a MacGuffin that exists to create mystery without offering any answer or any narrative as to why it exists, but rather just to create a feeling of unease and to create mysteries that have no answers, because it is much easier to set up a mystery than to explain it or go through with it. That is where I agree, where I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't fuck with this. Twin Peaks, I don't think Twin Peaks is the same. I think Lynch has some ideas. I don't know if he always perfectly executes them, but I wouldn't put those in the same category. I think Lynch is doing way more than Lost is doing. That's how Paprika felt, lol. I hate to be this guy, but I think you didn't get it then. Paprika is a project that has very real threads and answers that are pretty concrete. But again, the film is designed to operate like a dream. So you not getting it on a first watch is not any kind of indication that like you didn't do a good job watching, or you're like not a good film watcher or the right person to watch it. It's maybe just an indication that you need to like watch it again. And I think that is one practice that we have lost in a huge way in the consumption of media, is the idea that a rewatch is necessary. We live in a time and era where basically all media is disposable, and that the idea that you would have to sit down with something again for it to register with you or for it to click, it is lost. Because I think really for a while now, but especially with the rise of streamers, not us streamers, but Netflix and Prime Video and Hulu, people view media as utterly disposable. The only projects they ever rewatch are their security blankets, right? They will watch The Office 30 times, but they would never rewatch an art piece because, I've seen that, one and done. And I think that's really sad. And part of the reason that I do this film class, because I do think that there are important projects that people deserve to see the first time because they're outside the beaten path. And beyond that, people that have seen them, maybe sit down and watch them again with a different set of eyes. You know, I even watch projects I don't like. You know, I fully intend probably to one day watch like Killing of a Sacred Deer, which is one of my least favorite films, again, just to see if I can pull something out of it or glean something that I missed the first time around. I hope that's a good answer for you, 300. Fast and Furious? Nah, fuck that movie. Highly recommend The Seventh Seal. Seeing The Seventh Seal, a chess game with death. Do you think sometimes the way a story is told, even if told how it should be experienced, can get in the way of understanding it better? Or with good storytelling, is it always complementary? Or sometimes one overpowers the other, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, wow, that's very cool.
I think right now, in this moment, there are a lot of films that are form over function. I think we allow a lot of filmmakers in this moment to be so abstract with their storytelling that they fail to tell a cohesive story. And that bothers me because I'm a storyteller first. I'm not an excellent filmmaker by any means, I'll admit that, but I am a fantastic storyteller. Thank you so much. Thank you, XDev. You've expanded your film horizons over the last 4 years. Well, thank you. I'm glad I helped you that. I always acknowledge that I watch film with a storytelling focus, usually. Right now, we live in a time, I think that's like really interesting, where I think a lot of times if critics don't understand a story, they automatically give it a good score because they don't want to acknowledge that they don't understand it, because then that would be some kind of indictment of their intelligence. So I think there are a lot of projects recently that are like very abstract and kind of fail to tell a cohesive narrative, that reviewers will be like, oh, that's a great project. Wow. What's an example? I'm trying to think of like films this year that like didn't make any. Tenet is a good example of like, but that didn't get great scores. Here, let me look. Tenet didn't get like incredible scores. Poor Things? No, I think Poor Things had a good narrative thread. I will admit that. I could absolutely follow the narrative thread of Poor Things. I'm trying to like just... There are definitely some movies that I've seen though. None are coming to mind, but I'll meditate on it. Lost my father last week. I'll keep it light, but there are any artful / beautiful films you can recommend for overcoming loss? Big Fish. Is a good one. Big Fish is a really good one. Trying to think of like other ones that for loss are really good. Up is really good, but it's gonna make you fucking bawl your goddamn eyes out. Will this VOD be deleted? Probably eventually. Have you seen Ravenous? Yes. It wasn't that long ago that I could rent DVDs from my local art house rental store, but now they have all closed and it's practically impossible to find streaming services that have films from directors such as Fellini or Kurosawa. Where do you find international art house? I've told this to this film class many times. My favorite streamer that is the most overlooked one of all is the Criterion Channel. Criterion Channel, I think, is at $7 still. And the movies that they have are fucking insane. Like, just look as I scroll through this. The films that they have available on this are like ridiculous. Ridiculous. Like, you won't find Ricky-O. Dude, they have Ricky-O. What? Like, just for example, let's... Oh, I can't use the search bar. But I guarantee you they'll have a shitload of Kurosawa. I mean, dude, this film collection is nuts. Seventh Seal, Collateral, Wages of Fear, Gold Rush. I mean, it's really good. Canopy is a streaming service for students, and it's the same as the Criterion Channel. There you go. Thank you so much. Lord Spew! Thank you for the raid. Appreciate you. I think I'm hopping off here pretty soon, though. Do you think this will affect the Criterion Channel? I don't know. I really don't know enough about how they're structured. If given a chance, would you audition for this movie? First logo for the live action Street Fighter movie directed. Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't know who I'd play. I don't think I'm jacked enough to play anybody. Maybe a Ken, an old ass Ken. How do you feel about Welcome to the NHK? I fucking love Welcome to the NHK. I love that project. Will you see Furiosa soon? Yes. I will. All right, guys. That's my 5 hours. It was a very film class. We lost a lot of people to the 2-inch barrier. I always say it, you don't believe me, but we lost around 2,000 people to subtitles, which is always a little disheartening. But, you know, you got to keep doing what you're doing and showing what you're showing, regardless of how many people you lose. And God damn it, a lot of you stuck it out, and you're probably better people for it. So thanks for sticking around and watching a Satoshi Kon film. I hope you're enriched from it. I hope you enjoyed film night. Till next week when we do another film, I appreciate you showing up and being good students and asking good questions. I'm not the smartest person when it comes to film, I'll admit, but it brings me a lot of joy to share these projects with so many people and, you know, make the world better in that little way that I introduce them to artists who are much greater than myself. So with that being said, thank you for everything. I appreciate you. Same as always. Oh my goodness. Thank you for the 5. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
Guys, thank you for making my everyday better. I'll be back tomorrow. We got a lot of good stuff coming up, ladies and gentlemen. In a blunt rotation with the gang right now. Can't let them know I got Will on my left ear, AirPod under my Louis Vuitton beanie. Texting a baddie. They got to think I'm texting a baddie, but I'm typing in here. Hell yeah. Great fucking copy pasta. All right, I'm sending you over to Jay Dilla. Please give him the same love and respect you give me. I'll be back tomorrow, 7 p.m. West Coast time. The king of late night. Have a wonderful evening. Stay dangerous. Take care of yourselves. And I hope I give back a fraction of the joy that you give me. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. And good night.